What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Mind Flux podcast. Today we have an amazing guest, a wonderful light in this world, and a powerful, powerful woman. As always, we're downtown Indianapolis. We have our audio brought by Benji Got Beats, visuals brought by Cheddar Ches. I'm one of your hosts, T-Parm Teach, and our other host,
J-Matt Bow.
So who we got today? Who we got on the show today, man?
Today we have, you gave her, a great intro, but we have Bria Nachele. Just found out that's how her name is pronounced.
Yeah, it looks confusing on Instagram.
Yeah, she got to put a apostrophe or something on there. Something, I don't know.
An underscore.
Yeah, underscore or something. But yeah, we have Bria Nachele. So how we even got her on this podcast, I just happened to follow her, I think, maybe a couple months ago. And then as of recently, you came across my feed and I checked out your post and I was like, oh shit, like she's kind of dope. Like she's, has that growth mindset. And I was like, we were looking for women to get on and talk because like we have, a lot of our strongest listeners are women.
Mm-hmm.
So she's a DJ, development coach, probably a jack of other trades, but we'll find out on this episode. So let's just go ahead and jump right into it and just give our audience some insight on who you are.
Yeah, so my name is Bria Nachele. Find me on Instagram. I am 26. I'm from up north.
Okay.
I'm from Marion, Indiana, the 765. What's up? Super small town. I've been back and forth. I've traveled a lot. So in the last few years, I've lived in Portland, Oregon. I was there farming for a while, and then I was living in Los Angeles. My friends and I, we started a business. It's a dance fitness channel. Where we traveled the world and taught fitness and promoted body positivity and all of that stuff. So I recently parted ways with them, and now I'm back.
Sorry,
here we go. No, it's okay. It's okay.
So
now I'm back, and I'm in school. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm a development coach. I'm a DJ.
All right, well, let's start. You say farming?
Yeah.
How did you get into farming?
Okay, so there's this thing. There's this thing called woofing. Basically, it's this world of farming. Where you can go and live on people's properties and exchange. It's kind of like a work trade. So I did that for a while.
Gotcha.
In Oregon on this organic homestead.
Yeah, one of our guests on the podcast, he used to work for Spotify, and now he works for IMG?
Capitol Records.
Oh.
Yeah. So he actually did Workaway, which is very similar.
Yeah.
Where you do an exchange of service. Man, so farming, and then
Yeah.
DJ and a development coach.
Yes.
So let's go to DJ because there aren't very many women DJs out there just getting lit on the weekends and life of the party. So how did that happen?
Yeah, so I actually was super interested in DJing when I was younger. I had a lot of interest, like you said. Growing up, I wanted to do everything. Every time a new Disney Channel original movie came out, I wanted to be that. And you know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, I really wanted to do it when I was young. And so my parents, they splurged and got me turntables. And I tried to teach myself and then just kind of let that go because I had so many interests. And then because I was making a lot of money and had a lot of time, I was okay, I love music. This is something that I feel like I would be good at because I'm such a feely person and I love music and I love to dance and I love to party. So I was okay, I can do this.
Yeah.
I'm taking myself seriously. So I invested in my equipment. I got some lessons from some friends. The DJ community is amazing. By the way, it's one of the best communities I've ever been involved in. Everyone is so giving of their time and of their skill set. It's amazing. It's been a really cool journey. I've only been DJing for a little bit over a year.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so awesome. I started in LA and picked up several gigs there. And then, I'm back and have just been playing and got my little SoundCloud page.
Hey, that's awesome.
I love it though.
Yeah,
really?
Yeah, I DJed for a couple years in Terre Haute when I was at ISU.
Cool.
Yeah, so,
very cool.
Yeah, it was cool. I taught myself too. I just watch YouTube videos.
Yeah. YouTube is such a wonderful resource for learning anything. I learn because I have so many interests. I learn so much from YouTube. We're super lucky to grow up and be in the age that we're in with all of this technology and the widespread sharing of all sorts of knowledge. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So,
dang. Now Josh has some questions. I got some questions.
Yeah, go for it.
You're first, Josh.
all right, cool. So we got through that. So let's talk about you as a development coach, because I think that's very interesting. And, you know, when we were messaging, and I sent you that voice message, I said, you know, to be a development coach, I'm pretty sure you had to, you know, to get to that path, you would have had to, for one, develop yourself.
Right.
And, you know, some things had to have happened to you to make you even want to go out there and help other people and to feel that you have a message to spread.
Yeah.
So let's kind of like rewind and go into that and how that even started.
Yeah. So, well, first of all, my parents are pastors. I grew up in a non-denominational church.
Okay.
And so, like, my entire life was kind of centered around community building and community activism and getting people together and, like, you know, my parents took their skills and resources and really did everything that they could to share with other people and help other people develop the community. So, like, that's who I am at my core. That's what I know how to do really well. So fast forward several years, I was in school and, like, studying business in the Kelley School of Business. Absolutely hated my entire existence. I lost some friends really tragically. My cousin had an overdose and died. She died really young. And all of these things kind of just culminated into one, like, big breakdown. And I was extremely depressed and, like, did not want to continue living, basically. And I dropped out of school. I was like, okay, something has to change. Like, something has got to give. And it was me. And so I dropped out of school and enrolled myself in intensive outpatient care in Bloomington and went through, like, a 3-week intensive, you know, like, cleanse basically of my mind and, like, really trying to get myself rehabilitated. And then right after that, I moved home and put myself in a life coaching certification program for 6 months, which, like, for me, going through that six-month program was for me to get intensively coached. So in order to become a certified development or life coach, you have to get coached. You know, like you said, you have to be developed. And so I went through this really intensive process. And through that, you know, got my certification, but then also gained so much awareness around myself. And beyond that, I have my yoga certifications. I also teach yoga. And through that, you know, like, I meditate and have spent so much time investing in myself. And so that's why, you know, I haven't coached for years. I was like, I'm not in any kind of place to coach anyone. I don't feel comfortable coaching, and recently decided, like, okay, I'm ready. Like, I feel ready to share this thing and to take on clients and help other people develop, and not only in their personal life, but professionally as well.
Right. And that's what, like, literally the basis of this podcast. And it's so amazing how every guest exemplifies it in their own way. Like, the whole idea around Fluxed is to change, to flow, to move forward. And, like, the only way to change is to change. Like, and if something's not going, you know, your way, then you have to change.
Absolutely.
And for you to be able to see that at such a young age, how old were you at that time?
At the time, I was 21, 22.
Yeah, 21, 22, where most people might be a junior in college or not in college at all. Just living life, you know, just kind of taking it day by day and going through the motions before they get smacked in the face at like 25 or 30. To be able to have that introspection at such a young age really helps the people around you.
Yes.
And it also will obviously help people for years to come, because now you're still so young. And you have so much time to help other people.
You know, I get so hard on myself. I'm like, oh my God, I'm 26. I just turned 26 in February, and I get so hard on myself. Like, I'm so old, and why haven't I accomplished these things? Or why didn't I realize these certain things sooner? I, you know, was thinking about that recently. Like, I wish I would have had these realizations sooner, or never gotten to that place. You know, kind of stayed on this path of, like, you know, this right path, even though there is no right or wrong. But you're right. Like, I am young. And I'm so happy I had that experience early. Yeah. You know?
Because it's hard. It's hard because, like, especially if other people aren't going through it, you're like, man, this is like
listen.
So other people can't relate in a way. So gosh. You feel alone.
Oh, 100%. This sounds wild, but there was a time where I really locked myself in my room and didn't come out and was watching all of these science documentaries and learning about molecules and stuff and really like digging so deep. And my people were worried about me. They were like, are you okay? Like, you're leaving school? Are you nuts? Like, this is horrible. You're ruining your life. And then fast forward 2 years later and I'm traveling the world and people are like, oh my God, wow.
How can
How
I do
is this
it?
happening? And I'm like, no, come on, dude. Like, and I always like want to encourage people who are kind of coming into that change in their life. Like, it's going to make other people uncomfortable, but it's for their own good. Yeah. Like, other people are going to see this and it might feel really uncomfortable right now. And it's uncomfortable for them because you're challenging their status quo too. Yep. And so, like, you know, I want to help people who are ready to make a change to feel seen and heard and, you know, all that stuff.
Yeah. And one of the things that I noticed, I mean, I stopped you on Instagram for a long time because I had to get my thoughts and notes together. Like, man, how, because like there's so much value that can be brought. How can we bring just incredible value to the people who listen, right? And there's so many stories to tell, like Josh and I have, and that you'll have, and there's so many places we can meet in the middle. Yes. And one thing I want to like tackle and bring up like right in the beginning, because it's something that nobody talks about, is your openness with sexuality and sex on social media. Yes. Because we talk about changing as a person, but we have a very hard time diving into relationships. Especially like Josh and I, we are working. Like, our office is upstairs. We're there, you know,
morning to night, every day,
morning to night. And relationships look great, but not for, you know, the wrong reasons. Or, you know, our guests, or not even our guests, our listeners, some of the biggest influence people have in their life are their relationships 100%. Or sexual relationships. They might not pursue a dream because they joke, you know, their significant other for a month jokes with them and says, oh, you know, that's lame. Oh, you read before bed, or, you know, little things. But, you know, it builds up. It builds up, and or being told like you're weird because like you learn like that, like it really like almost traps people, you know, in a way. And so, just with relationships in general, and then moving on, you know, to sexuality as well, like, where did that come from with yourself? And then just like, give us some of those, like, literally like tips or pointers of things that you help other people with.
Yeah, so I've always been a sexual person. Like, from a pretty young age, like, I've just been tapped in. We call it Shakti energy. So I don't know if, you know, you follow that sort of spirituality, but it's this feminine energy that, you know, we all have it. Men too have this really intense feminine energy, but I was just super tapped in at a young age. So I've always been like this sexual being. And then, you know, obviously I've had lots of different experiences. But once I got older, realized that there's a really deep and intrinsic connection between sexuality, shame, confidence, and how I produce, right? Because sex is life. Okay, I'm about to get really deep. Okay, you ready?
Do it. Let's do it. Let's dive in.
So sex is life, right? That's how we make life. So every time we engage in intercourse, we're creating life. So, you know, when you can express yourself fully sexually, or, you know, really find real intimacy with your sexual partners, it's like that is the process of creation. You know what I mean? And so it's this really, really deep thing. And I wanted to personally, because like you guys, I'm really passionate about what I do in the world, like my work. And I felt like I was having a lot of issues producing things. And so I wanted to like tap into that sexual energy which is creative energy, and figure out how I can, you know, utilize my relationships as a reflection of myself, and then create things with them, or, you know, by myself through like masturbation, you know what I mean?
Right.
And figure out how to channel that creative energy and produce positivity and the things that I want to create into the world.
Right, because those relationships are supposed to be to help us build things.
Right,
like even your business, or even your music, or even your coaching.
Right, so like what you were saying about there are some people who have these relationships that kind of prohibit them from doing the things that they want to do in the world. Honestly, like, am I allowed to cuss?
Yeah.
You can bleep it out. Yeah. Honestly, fuck that. Like, you should not be with somebody. I mean, okay, shoulds, but this is a should that I feel strongly about. Like, if somebody is like hindering you from achieving your fullest potential, your fullest work potential, your fullest life potential, your fullest sexual potential, leave. Like, it is not worth it. There are so many people in the world. There are so many people that have the ability to help you achieve your potential that you're really like doing yourself a disservice because your relationships are everything.
Yeah.
Like, our relationships are everything. They're our mirrors. They teach us how we are. They show us our true selves.
Yeah, and I agree with that because so I brought up to Tristan the other day because like it's just been coming up. He said it, and other mentors you follow, they say like don't give up what you're trying to do. For example, your kids. That relates to the same thing with like relationships. Like, don't do that because if those people aren't there no more, what are you left with?
Right.
Like, it's like nothing if you put all your all into.
Right. I mean, really, essentially, it's just us. Like,
yeah.
At the end of the day, like, you got yourself, and I know that seems probably selfish to certain people, especially people who, you know, don't ever take any time for themselves. For people like you guys or me or, you know, other entrepreneurs, which I'm sure you have a lot of entrepreneurs who listen to this podcast, you know, it makes maybe a little bit more sense to prioritize ourselves. But I don't know. Yeah. Like, at the end of the day, you got yourself. Yeah. And any partner could leave you at any time.
Yeah, any partner could leave you. And that's what we talk about with job security, right? So, like, not everybody wants to own their own business, like Josh and I, right?
Right.
Not everybody wants to be their own DJ or to shoot behind the camera. You know, not everybody wants to do that. But the thing that you want to do is up to you.
Right.
And, like, at any moment, if you accept it, like, from somebody else, it can go away. Like, if you don't make it happen yourself, if you don't change into whatever environment or however you need to be to accept your gift,
right?
If you don't make those changes, then it can literally disappear.
100%.
And for us with the job, right? If it's if you work a regular job, that company can go under.
Oh,
I mean, we failed in our business before. Like, we've had people that we cannot afford to pay anymore, and that happens.
Yeah,
and
all
so
the time.
if you're riding on that, gone. Same with a partner. Like, your partner could wake up and, like a light switch, no longer want to be in this relationship. They could be having their own paradigm shifts if they're not living for themselves. Then all of a sudden it flips and they live for themselves, and you don't fit in the picture anymore.
Totally.
And for some people, growing up, you learn from, you know, your family, your pastor, and your teachers. You know, that's really it for. And for you had both of that at the same time.
I did.
Until all of a sudden you're 18 and you get sent to college with a bunch of kids who a lot of people go to college. A bunch of kids with the same thing. They only know what their parents and teachers and pastors taught them, and there's just this big mesh, and it turns into these disastrous relationships or these disaster. It's like
so bad.
Fraternities or sororities or, you know, it's just like coming together, and that's what part of this podcast is about, is uncovering, pulling the veil back on those things that, like, just because you go to college doesn't mean growth stops. Like, like, that's really when you get to, like, open up. You know, and just because you leave college doesn't mean growth stops. Just because you have a baby doesn't mean growth stops. Just because, like you said, you drop out and put yourself in this intensive, like, rehabilitation center does not mean growth stops. That's all the progress, all the process.
Yeah, life is a constant learning. Like, if you stop learning, you will just stop.
Yeah,
existing.
If you're not growing, you're dying.
Right, you're dying. And time becomes this really weird thing where it almost speeds up when you stop learning, I think. Like, I was talking to my dad. My dad also is very, like, always reading, always learning, always keeping his mind sharp. And he was telling me about this study that was talking about the more that you learn, the more that you, like, force your mind to think in different ways and consume new knowledge, it keeps you young. It almost stops time. So you're right. We're always changing. And if you don't change with yourself or with the world, like, you're dying. You really are.
If you're not growing, you're dying.
Yes,
If it's not up, it's down.
Yep.
There's no middle
ground.
ground.
Those are facts.
Exactly.
No middle ground.
I'm such a big proponent of continuous learning.
Yeah.
And going after the things that make you curious. Like, if you need to cultivate your curiosity and your imagination to learn about yourself. I was just talking to my mom about this too. Like, your external world reflects your internal world. So going on adventures, going to the library, seeing what you attract, walking through, you know, book aisles, seeing where you land, what you like to eat, like, all of these things helps you learn more about yourself and really, like, develop who you are inside as well.
Right. And if you don't know that path or that passion, it helps you uncover that because, like, so many people, they're like, well, I don't know what to do. And like a lot of our listeners do know what they want and it helps them move forward. And a lot of the other half of our listeners are like, they're searching. So like we're trying to provide these just different perspectives so that way it can like flip and like, okay, well, maybe I can explore this. I can sit on YouTube and learn about anything in the world.
Yep.
Like anything. And I can uncover my passion and then just fall in love. And fall in love with everything.
Yeah, I highly recommend people who feel fuzzy about their passion or fuzzy about what it is that they're supposed to do or what they want to do. First of all, spend time alone. So like going back to relationships, like I think that everybody deserves to take time for themselves by themselves. If you've been in a relationship your whole life and you're feeling a little antsy, take a step back, like be alone, you know, because it takes being alone to really figure out what it is that you like. And, you know, go on adventures, like go explore things, so you can figure yourself out. You don't have to have a destination necessarily, but just breaking out of your routine, even a little bit, brings so much insight into who you are at your essence and your core.
Awesome. Right. So you mentioned routine. Like what would you give our audience in terms of like routines? Because that's a big part in our lives is like routines, like, and like really like sticking to them because like it makes the difference in your day. So like what are some of the routines that you have and what would you recommend for people to find one?
It's really interesting because I've been traveling so much over the last 4 years. I've lived in many different places and haven't really been settled anywhere for longer than a year. So this is a big deal for me. I think the biggest routine thing that I try to do all the time is to exercise my body. That is something that if I'm not doing it, I'm not well. When I am doing it, no matter where I am, I can work out, right? I can run outside as long as the weather is nice. Even if it's cold, I can run outside and that helps me so much. And I feel like out of everything that I do, exercising, having that a part of my routine is everything to me, as well as meditating. I like to be outside. So even just like walking outside, but going outside has to be a part of my weekly like I want it to be my daily routine, in order for me to be well.
Yeah.
Right. And I have a direct quote on here because I was just going through your Instagram. I was like, there's some gold in here, but this is one of my favorite things. So we had a female entrepreneur guest, on an episode, 2 episodes ago, once this releases, and, also an incredible soul. She, you know, hit 7 figures at 22. And so like, there's a money side of things that has her seeing things from a different perspective. And so she watches videos instead of like reading. Yeah. But on your post, this is a direct quote. It said, "Here was once a time when reading was only for the rich, the white, and the penis, which should be enough to convince us of the power books possess." Man,
I forgot I said that.
That is so powerful though, because especially right now, when we won't dive into like, you know, politically or anything else, the climate, the fact that information is so readily available, not just about what you want to know, but about other people, other countries, other places. The fact that where what used to be a barrier, a wall between the have and the have-nots is completely broken down just by access to books.
Just by books. Like my mom had me in the library young. My aunt was reading to me in my mom's belly. You know what I mean? I am a huge like encourager of people reading. Like go read. I don't care if you hate reading. I don't care. Like go read something. Read an article. Read a magazine. Read a picture book. You know what I mean? Like read something. The library is one of my favorite places. And if you're in the Indianapolis area, the Central Library is everything. You know how some people have their thing when they go travel? I go to libraries and botanical gardens.
And botanical
gardens. I'm obsessed with plants. I used to be a florist too. But that's one of my things is like I go to the library and check it out. This library is lit. Like everybody needs to go check it out. Just go spend time there. Like, books are everything. Reading is everything. It could teach you anything. Like, I always think about, like what I said in that post or whatever, like, why was this thing so exclusive to only certain people? Because it's like, you know, it's like the tree of knowledge. You know what
powerful.
I mean?
Like, all the answers are hidden in between books.
In between books. That's how I learn everything.
Yeah.
Is by reading. You know what I mean?
And we got to hear from a really powerful speaker in Phoenix 2 weeks ago. And he said when he reads slow because most people are in such a rush to get through the information never gets through them, especially when they read. And so what he does is, instead of writing down what the book says, he writes down what he thinks when he reads something powerful about what the book says.
That's amazing.
And so I've started doing that, and my ability to retain information crazy went up, which just blows my mind. But more importantly, the organic thoughts that I've had about myself in the past 2 weeks, just from processing information that way. I'm reading the same book. I'm midway through the same book, but I used to hate reading.
Yes.
I used to hate reading. I got to watch Josh read like every single day, and I'm just like I'd love to, but I just hate it. There's got to be a better way.
Reading.
And forcing myself into doing that, you're in your own mind. How often do we put ourselves in our own mind? And it's never. Like, we literally have phones, so we stay out of it. And like it's new method of control or whatever it may be.
Right.
And so the fact that you can open up pages and somebody's thoughts are right there, and then you get to have your own about it, is such an intimate experience. And so
100%.
It's part of what this podcast, goes back to, is like the only way to change is to change, and when you go and read those, your mind is continuously developing, continuously expanding.
I think that's something that helped me, because I used to read a lot growing up, and then I stopped reading when I was in high school because, you're forced to read like Beowulf and the Odyssey and like A Pilgrim's Progress. You know what I'm talking about?
Great Gatsby.
The Great Gatsby. I did not read that book.
You did?
No!
What is wrong with y'all? I just talked to him about
I didn't read it either.
I did not read that book. I did not have the time.
Man, that was awesome.
No. Yeah, I know. I should have read it. Honestly, I regret that. But something that I realized when I got out of school and realized that I hadn't read a book for like 5 years. That's a really scary thought when you're like, I haven't read anything in 5 years. It's a little alarming. But I realized we put so many rules on reading.
Yeah.
What? Why are there all of these rules on reading? Like, okay, I have to go to the library. I have to get this book because it's a best-selling novel by Jane Austen. You know what I mean? It's all of these rules. And once I took the rules off, like, actually, I can go look up a topic about sex. I can look up a topic about sex. There's a huge section of books about sexuality. I can go get 12 books. I can put them all in front of me and pick one based on which favorite like cover I like, flip through the table of contents. If I don't see anything interesting, okay, I move on to the next one. Flip through that table of contents. Okay, this chapter 12 sounds super interesting. And I read a paragraph and then move on. And then, you know what I mean? Like taking the rules off of reading, it doesn't matter how you read. Just consume the information the way that you want to. Just that practice alone has taught me so much about myself in general.
Yeah, and that's
beyond the reading.
That's unique too, because most people are like, you have to read front to back, and you have to take these notes, you have to highlight. You're like, nah.
No, read how you want to read. Read what you want to read. Like, you don't have to read these boring novels. There's so many interesting things in the library. And that helped me a lot find out who I am. You know, what I enjoy.
Man, that's incredible. I didn't know how deep that was going to go.
I know, right?
That's amazing. And what I love about it is, the change in power, because one thing that I noticed, unfortunately, I saw this on your social media yesterday. A Malaysia Booker, I think last name. African American transgender woman slain. And that's not something we would normally bring up on the podcast, but it's so. It's great we can get information like that to know. Okay, we got to do better as people, but at the same time, it's kind of terrifying.
It's terrifying,
and that now that those borders can be broken down between sex, between race, between religion, between, like we said, gender too, just like, is incredible. And to see like you embrace that with like such open arms on your page to talk about, we need to love all women, including transgender women, and to like make that a point. Where does some of that come from as well.
Yeah, that definitely comes from the way that I was raised. So my parents chose, like, I'm from this really small town of 30,000 people, and for some reason, there are 200 churches there. That doesn't even make sense, does it?
Crazy.
Every family has their own church in the backyard.
You can literally get from one side to the other of my town in less than 15 minutes, and yet there's still like 200 churches. Wow. I don't even know how, I can't really wrap my mind around it, but my parents were very like adamant about putting the church in, you know, the inner city, and like making sure that it was open to people. So like I grew up with all kinds of people. Like our church was down the street from the mission, so we had all sorts of people like at our house all the time. And like we had one person, his name was Brian, and he was a cross-dresser, is how he like defined himself at the time. And I used to sit with him every day, every Sunday, you know, and people had such an issue with it. Like it was this big thing, and like people would leave the church when he would, you know, be there and be really upset about it. And my parents were just very like, no, he deserves to be here too. So I think that the reason why I personally am so open-minded is because of situations like that. And growing up, how I grew up, I was just taught to, my dad comes from some hippies. So he was raised by hippies. So like that's kind of just the mentality. And my grandma as well. My grandma recently came out as a lesbian. And she's like 60 something, like her late 60s. So my mom was raised around like that vibe too, like the LGBTQ community, even though she didn't really know, you know, as a kid. So my life has just kind of I've always been open to that. And I just love people. Like I just love people. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe some of us are wired differently.
Well, and so, and I think a really interesting perspective to that is like, I'm from a really small town too. I graduated with 59 people.
Oh, yeah, that's real small.
Yeah, less than 3,000 people in the town, you know, and Josh graduated with like 800. And so literally our worlds just like collided because we're from totally different backgrounds, like could not be different. But our upbringings were so similar, you know, raised by our grandfather, you know, lack of fatherhood, you know, in the home, stuff like that. It's like we can be from two opposite ends of the world, but still have a similar story. And that's why I kind of wanted to ask about that too, because I feel like a lack of accepting, and for all of our listeners, a lot of our listeners are just like beautiful people. Like they really just like are so open, you know, to change. But as we get new listeners, you know, them hearing that perspective is really important to us because it's like we're it. Like we're the next. Yeah. Like we're it right now.
Oh,
like we have fans, 13-year-old kids who, you know, watch all our stuff every day, and that might be what they decide to do in 3 or 4 years.
100%. I love the next generation. If you're a kid in the next generation, like I'm low-key jealous because you guys are so awesome. Like you have such amazing brains and you're so welcoming, and the music you listen to and like your inclusivity is really beautiful to see. And, you know, I don't mean to like toot our own horn, but like that's because of us. You know what I mean? Like our generation is awesome too. And if you're young, if you're our age, whatever, older, like the world is a more beautiful place. Your life is better when you include everyone and you extend your arms to everybody. Like life is better that way. You know, going back to like relationships, like everyone you see is a reflection of you, is a mirror of you. If you feel hatred towards somebody, sis, that is hatred towards yourself. Like, period. End of story. So like
the same speaker, he said, people don't see you through their eyes. They see you through your eyes.
100%. You see everyone through the lens of your life. So if there's hatred there, like dig deep. Where is it from? Where's it coming from? What's going on with you? There's probably some trauma. You know, uncover it, undig it, like heal it. Yeah.
It's dope. So I feel like you've, over the course of the years, you've just had a tremendous amount of like epiphany moments, right? That just like open your eyes. What's one epiphany moment though throughout your journey that's like really made the biggest impact in your life to where you are now?
I got it. I was sitting in accounting class. It's this lecture hall of like 250 students in Bloomington, Indiana at IU. And I'm sitting there depressed, hating every second of it. My teacher, who's like this nerdy old like white lady, she's has dark circles under her eyes. Like, she just looks like she's unhappy. You know what I mean? She's up there showing slides about how much money I'm going to make when I get my Kelly degree. If I'm a marketing major, I'm going to make 60 grand. If I'm a CPA, I'll make 72 grand a year. And I'm sitting there like, what? Like, I don't want your life. You know what I mean? I was sitting there like, what am I doing? I look around, I see nobody that looks like me. You know, out of 250 students, there's maybe 4 POCs, and I'm one of them. And 2 of us are girls. You know what I mean? It's like that whole vibe. And I remember like writing on my notebook, who am I allowing to define my successes and failures? It was like this light bulb moment. Like, I realized in that moment that I was allowing all of these people that I didn't know, all of these people who had nothing in common with me, all of these friends that I had just met 2 years prior in college, random people who are not my parents, defining what is success in my life. And I literally packed up my shit in the middle of class and I left. And I came back this year, but 4 years didn't come back. You know what I mean? It was like this huge awakening. And after I decided that, you know, I am the only person who's allowed to give away my power. I'm the only person who controls what I do. I'm the only person that gets to decide if the decisions I make and the things that I produce are success or their failure. That was huge. That was the turning point in my existence.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's a powerful moment. And I can kind of relate because I dropped out of school my junior year of college. You know, I was kind of like, I was sitting in class listening to this teacher, like, and she was telling me all these things. And I'm like, your life is not my life right now.
Exactly. That is like, the same thing that happened to me.
Yeah, like it's crazy. Because I do think it's important too to, especially, you got to figure out what you want, and you really got to only take advice and stuff like that from people whose you know, opinions you actually value and the lifestyle that they have. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
pretty cool.
Same thing. Like, I remember just looking at this lady like, girl, like that is not the life I want. That is not it for me. And you know, like, everybody's different. Like, everybody needs to do their own thing. Like, my path is not everybody's path. Dropping out of school is not for everyone. I'm back in school. You know what I mean? Like, but just really taking a step back and living your life for yourself is so important. It's everything.
When did that shift happen where you're like, I need to go back to school after you? So you have this like groundbreaking moment, and then everything happens, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna go back. And so it's like some people will be like, I can literally envision this. Somebody, I told you never to drop out. You just go back anyways, and now it's gonna cost you more money. You're gonna do this. You know, everybody's always got something to say, but I mean, they're not living your life. And so, what was that? How did that come about?
Yeah, so I was living in Los Angeles, and you know, it's hard to live there. It's expensive. It's a whole thing. And kind of struggling, and I parted ways with my business partners very abruptly, and it kind of like took me off guard. And there were other situations, other relationships that it was literally like somebody knocked over my tower of Legos, and my life there just crumbled to the ground. And I was like, okay, you know, like, I don't have anywhere to live. I don't have a job anymore. I don't have anything. I lost friends. Like, my life crumbled to the ground. And you know, people there were encouraging me, like, just stick it out. Don't leave. Everything's going to be fine. It's going to work out. And I'm one of those people where, like, if I'm meeting a lot of resistance, I listen to it and I'm like, no, I don't want to I don't want to suffer. Like, I understand how people say, like, oh, artists need to, like, struggle and stuff. I'm not one of those people. Like, I'm going to go to places that accept me. I want to live my life with ease. So I was like, I'm out. I had like a free, some mileage points. So I went to Portland. I just put all my stuff in a storage unit. It's all still there, by the way. And I went to Portland, stayed with some friends there. I like traveled around a little bit and then came here, and I randomly was like, I was going to maybe move to New York. I had a couple of like job opportunities. I went there as well and was maybe going to move there. And I randomly applied to school like after Thanksgiving and got accepted back into the business school, got like money to go back to school. It was crazy. I was like, that's what I'm supposed to do. Okay.
Yeah.
And everything worked out. Like, everything worked out. Just like boom, boom, boom. And I was like, okay, this is where I'm supposed to be. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. Right. I'm very huge about like listening to like things. Like, if a place is spitting me out, I'm going to leave, you know, you know what I mean? Like, because that means that my path is like redirecting. It means I need, for me, it means I need to go in a different direction. And so that's kind of how it happened. And so I'm back. I decided to switch my major from Kelly to media, which is really exciting. So I'm going to be studying like media theory and how the media affects us and, you know, race and gender and sexuality within the media. And I feel like that's so, it aligns with who I am now. So
man,
that's how I'm back. I know, right?
That's incredible.
Isn't that wild?
And it follows. So our last episode was with a great friend of ours, Marcus, and he kept getting met with resistance too, and would just follow the dream, like follow the path, like there's a point in your life, like, you know, the difference between like blatant resistance and struggle. Like there's a total difference, and Josh and I have been through that too with our business, where it's like, okay, like at one point we will say you have to go through something, like something, like things are going to pull away, like obstacles are going to come, like you have to go. If you have that tunnel vision, that's just part of it, you know, slap it off because it's coming. Stay on the path. But there are also moments where you do shift and change, and to reach that heightened level of like senses, to know the difference between,
that's exactly what it is. It's your senses.
Resistance and blatant objections, you know. To be able to see that it takes a lot of discovery, and I personally believe like the only way to discover it is to read, to watch you know, other seminars, to listen to speakers, to go to events, to get around people who are into the things that you're into. 100%. The only way to discover it is to do that, because when you are met with those moments, if you have not spent time in your own brain, you won't know how to develop them and how to move forward. Right.
Yeah, you have to have a hyper sense of self-awareness. It's all about your intuition. You know what I mean? Like, that's it. You have to listen to your higher self, your gut feelings. Like, that's not just something we talk about, like, la-di-da, you have gut feelings. Like, those are real.
Yeah.
And it's really scary to listen to your gut. It's really scary to listen to your higher self, to listen to the world around you, your environment is telling you, no, not now. Like, no, I'm taking these things away from you. The universe, I believe in the universe. You know what I mean? I believe in this higher sense of consciousness. And it takes a lot to tap into that.
Yeah.
But once you're tapped in, you meet this flow. You know what I mean? And you just know certain things, like you were saying, you know the difference between A and B.
Yeah, it's like water. The universe will get out of your way. It will flow. It will give you what you need. We've been very vocal about that.
In the right time. In the right time. And, you know, school wasn't the right time for me 4 years ago. But it is now. Because first of all, the media school's new. It wasn't there when I was there. You know what I mean? It wasn't even there. The options that I have now did not exist. And I'm back now and have this plethora of options and things that are so aligned with who I am that I wouldn't have been able to learn about 4 years ago. Yeah. That's just one thing. That's just one.
Yeah. That's awesome. So for you, let's talk about fear.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think I'm pretty sure you've had fear along your journey, moving from place to place, being uncertain. So, like, what are some times where you've faced fear along your journey, and how did you cope with it, and how did you get through it?
Oh, yeah. I was talking to my mom about this. Like, most of the things that I do, I'm afraid. I decided a few years back that I was going to... The things that made me the most afraid, like shaking. You know what I mean? Terrified. I'm not doing that. You couldn't drag me to do it. There's absolutely no way I could do it. Those are the things that now I go after. Those are the things that now I'm like, okay, I'm so scared. I have to do it. You know, it's kind of like, I have a very like adrenaline junkie sort of personality. I'm a little wild like that. You know what I mean? But I think that everything I've done, I've been afraid. Like moving into someone random's house I didn't even know to farm, to live in a trailer, like with all these people I didn't know in the middle of Oregon. Like, what the hell? I was so scared to do that. And everybody was like, you're nuts. Don't do that. I was scared to travel the world, to go perform live in front of people. And there's so many things that I've been afraid of, but I just do it scared. And I think that has become a practice for me, is like, forcing myself to do things that make me afraid, even if it's minute. Like, there's a party and I don't know anyone, or an event and I don't know this. I don't know you guys.
Right.
I'm nervous. I've never been on a podcast before. This is my first one. I'm nervous.
Yeah.
but I'm going to do it because I know that it's for the betterment of me. It's almost like, okay, so in coaching, we call fear like the saboteur, right? So it's this voice inside of our heads that tells us that, okay, you can't do that. You're not enough. So when we're young, the saboteur is our protector, right? So the saboteur tells us, okay, that's a hot stove. Don't touch it. To protect us. But at some point in your life, you grow out of that. You have to set your saboteur aside. We also call this the ego. You have to set it aside because it no longer protects you. It boxes you in. So now what I do with my ego or my saboteur is when it comes up and tells me, no, that's too scary. Don't do that. You're not safe.
Right.
I'm like, yeah, I am. And that's a sure sign that that is something I need to go after and accomplish and tackle. I basically partner with my fear.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure you feel way better after tackling that fear because, I mean, everything that you want is on the other side of fear.
100%.
And we definitely, truly believe that.
Me too.
I know for me, though, so one thing I'm definitely scared of is like skydiving. He brought up that we're going to go.
We're going to go.
I ain't going to lie.
There's a place in Indiana.
I ain't going to lie. I need health insurance first. Before I do this guy.
No, that's probably a good idea, and I needed to. Yeah, you're right.
But I'll definitely tackle that fear one day.
Yeah, and that's something else too. Is like when I was younger, I was really afraid of heights and roller coasters and all sorts of things. Like I had a lot of adventurous friends, and I'm really grateful for their parents because my mom's super fearful. She grew up in a really fearful home where like her mom discouraged her from going to college or doing anything. So my mom was kind of like, oh, I'm afraid for you to do anything. But I had all of these other like my people around me who really encouraged me to like jump off of a bridge, simple things. And I still think that like the littlest things in our lives now can teach us a lot. Like skydiving or jumping off of a cliff or going on a boat or swimming in the ocean or, little things like that teach us, how to overcome the big stuff that comes later.
And that's why like observing my son is the most mind blowing. Yeah, he's a year and a half.
Oh, wow.
He's the coolest little dude ever.
He's the most beautiful, amazing child. And he has no fear because of a partial lack of awareness, but he's also more aware than like we can even begin to understand. Like he really knows what's going on. It's unbelievable. He's only a year and a half. Like it's
babies
mind
are
blowing.
wild.
Yeah. So last night,
where did they come from?
last night he discovered something new that he could literally just jump. He could stand in front of the mattress and just jump backwards. Like this jump.
That was hilarious.
He thinks it's so hilarious. Like he literally will just
not
jump.
Afraid.
No fear. He thinks it's so fun. And then he bounced on the mattress and like bumped into the wall and like stopped for a second and decided if he was going to cry or not.
Right.
And that like moment, I just watched him and looked at him and he could see me see him. And I was like, this is not worth crying over.
Yeah.
He's definitely fallen was worth crying over, but that moment wasn't it. And he like internalized it and went back to doing it, but he adjusted where he was jumping from.
Yes.
And I was like
shook.
Like mind blown.
Yeah.
And I'm getting somewhere with this story.
Yeah.
A paradigm shift for me was my relationship with his mom was not where it was supposed to be around Christmas time. And as a kid, I grew up always saying that my kids will have one Christmas. They'll have one this, because I don't want them going all over the place.
Yep.
The day after Christmas came and I had to drive him to Chicago so he could go to his other Christmas, which immediately broke down my beliefs, right? Of like, it's his first Christmas and it's going against everything that I've ever wanted to be as a dad.
Right.
I don't have even the gas money to get there. One of our best friends just moved back from San Diego and he got in that night on the couch. And it's the last night before Carter's got to go. And he's showing, it's like, I was like, yeah, man, you can't believe what he'll do. And it's like, he heard me and started showing my friend all the stuff he could do at that time. And I started crying, just bawling like a baby. It was like such like a vulnerable moment. And now when he sees that progress, it's like he saw it. Like we like had a moment. When he makes those changes, it's just like us as adults. Like we might jump on the bed, right? Or get into a new job or get a new opportunity or whatever. And we have that moment where we get bumped. It's like we look up, like, are we gonna cry?
Yeah.
Or are we going to do it a different way?
Yeah.
Because we enjoy doing it so much, we're going to just find a different way to do it.
100%.
And if a 1.5-year-old can sit there and do that, then we as adults have no excuse.
Right.
like anybody who's old enough to listen to this, no excuse. And so when did you have some of those moments where on this journey you had some bumps or you ran into some things and it's like you got to decide if you're going to cry or you're going to keep doing it?
Oh yeah, I mean the most recent one, you know, my life has been amazing in the last few years. Like I was making a lot of money, you know, getting a lot of like public recognition, doing something that was pretty simple. You know, I'm dancing with my friend for fun, performing live on a stage, getting to literally travel the world and get paid to do it. And then it all comes crumbling down. Like everything that I thought I knew about myself, every way I thought my life was going to go, it basically didn't. It took like a complete 360. That has been a huge bump in my life as of late. That just happened in the fall. So that's been the most recent one. And, you know, it was hard. Like I am still healing from that situation. And I think that, you know, like I said earlier, it's one of those things where I think you have to kind of take a step back and be aware enough to see things from a meta view, which is like a zoomed out view of your life, a third person perspective, and be objective and say like, for me, that the situation was like, okay, this is not for me then. You know what I mean? That's just, it can't be. It's not. That's how I have to move on. Understanding that this is not for me and this is not as good as it gets either. You know what I mean? So when you hit a bump, it's like you have to trick yourself. Okay, have you watched the Muhammad Ali documentary?
I haven't.
Okay. Watch that.
Okay.
Seriously. Everyone listening to this, go watch that documentary. It's a 2-part documentary. Cassius Clay is a crazy MF. He literally would lose a fight, like got knocked down and would be like, I didn't get hurt. I didn't get beat up. Like my opponent took way more punches than me. You know, like you have to have this insane perspective on your life. Like that's not as good as my life gets. And just tell yourself that over and over and over when you hit a bump, because you can quickly go into this perspective of like, my life is ruined and I'm going to go back to being this like, you know,
scared.
Yeah, this scared person having this horrible life. This is as good as my life gets. I don't deserve these amazing things. But if you tell yourself something different, like it could be a different outcome. You know what I mean? So
and it's like, it's not as good as it can get, and it's also not as bad as it could be.
100%. When you hit that low, which I hit early in my life, nothing will ever be worse than that.
Exactly.
And I'm so happy that I hit it so young, and decided, and decided that, you know, that is my low. Like decided to get myself out of it because I could have not. I could not be here right now. But I made a decision to pull myself up out of that, you know, situation. And now everything I experienced since a bump, I'm like, nah, I've definitely been through worse. I've been homeless. I haven't had a place to live. Like, I'm going to be all right. You know what I mean? Like, I can do it. And that's the beauty in, like, overcoming your bumps. Overcoming your hard situations and your circumstances.
And those are the moments that teaches you the most about yourself.
100%.
And that's what I've found, you know, with what we've been through, all these things. Because I've had, like, a couple lows in my life. One was when my freshman year, my mom passed away from cancer. Nothing after that, nothing like fazed me anymore. I'm like, I mean, shit, what can happen now? Like, another was this past winter, we went through some stuff business wise and all just crazy, you know, crazy stuff. And that was like a super, super low for me. That was like the one time where I felt like, I wouldn't say I don't think I was at that point of depression, but it was that point of just negative thoughts, just freaking just pounding my head. But I've never felt those feelings before, but now I felt them. So it's like, okay, what's after that now? Like there's literally
nothing could be worse.
Exactly.
And a quote that kind of came to my mind pulling out of it is like, and this is something that I'm excited to say on this podcast. I'm excited to say it on stage. I'm excited to say it to you, to Josh, is to be able to look yourself in the mirror and say, you can't beat me. You don't have my story.
Oh yeah.
Like, and in unique, it's like I will look Josh in the eyes and say, Josh, you can't beat me. You don't have my story. But we'll together look at another business and say, you can't beat us. You don't have our story. And you can do the same thing. It's like, of course we can be together. Like we can move, but like this life, it's not about me and you. It's not about us and that other business. It's like this life. Like you cannot beat us. Like
Yeah.
there's no lower than this. Like when you decide that you've had enough, you've had enough.
Right. Your greatest competition is yourself.
Yep.
Exactly.
And your story and your own life. Like, period. You know?
Period. Period.
I'm hot.
It did get hot out of nowhere.
We're gonna have a sweat over here.
I feel amazing.
No, it got hot out of nowhere.
I need a fan. I need a church fan up in here. No.
So what is next? What we typically do as we close these out is we ask, I'll just start with the first question.
Yeah.
What is one message or thought, and some impact that you want to bring to our listeners? Some closing.
Yeah. I think the most important thing is to, you have to learn about yourself. You have to follow your own path. You have to block people out. You have to if you want crazy things to happen in your life, you have to be crazy. Mm-hmm. Like if you want amazing things to go on in your life, you have to be amazing. You can't yield a result without having the necessary ingredients. Mm-hmm. If you want to make a change, you have to take action steps. Mm-hmm. I think it's really important to have the right people around you, to put yourself in the right environments, to have insane faith. When people look at you and they say, you can't do that, to be like, yes, I can. Mm-hmm. And then go do it. Like you have to be wild. It's one of those things where like you have to be wild in order to live a wild life. And another thing is that living an extraordinary life is not exclusive to a special group of people. Mm-hmm. I have friends who had all of the privilege in the world, who have all the privilege in the world, who grew up very wealthy, had every opportunity, could do anything that they wanted, traveled the world as like 10-year-olds. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And they're not living the life that they want. I had friends who come from horrible homes, didn't have money growing up, and they're living amazing lives. Mm-hmm. It's not living the life of your dreams, pursuing your passions is not exclusive to anyone. Mm-hmm. Anyone can have that. You just have to really be wild.
Yep.
You know?
That. Yep.
I love
wild.
that.
Yeah.
And then the next question and the last question is, what can people expect to see from you in the future?
Oh my gosh. What a good question. I'm hoping to DJ more. I love DJing. That's a space where I feel the most free. Mm-hmm. My dad growing up, I was a very curious kid, and he asked me a lot of questions I used to ask a lot of questions about eternity and heaven. And he told me, nothing added up to me, right? Mm-hmm. And I was like, that doesn't make sense. Mm-hmm. And one day he told me, eternity is an infinite party, where it's just a party forever. Mm-hmm. And even though it still didn't make sense to me, I accepted it. So I feel like when I DJ, I'm living my heaven on earth for real. Mm-hmm. And that is my favorite place to be. I feel so free when I'm doing that. So I'm hoping to DJ more in the city. I've been playing in Pioneer a little bit. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be putting on a party soon. It's going to be every third Tuesday at the Patron Saint. We haven't quite announced it yet, but I hope that, people stay on the lookout for it. It's going to be an amazing party with DJ Gabby Love and DJ Jess Littletown, an all-girls party. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Yeah, open to everyone, of course. Mm-hmm. But what's so amazing about DJing is that there's this really big component of community building and activism. And so I'm hoping to continue to do that. I really want to continue to put out good content and, get to know this community while I'm here. I obviously, I'm super eager to travel, but I'm here for a while. So I really am wanting to dig some roots here, take what I've learned traveling and bring it here and continue to connect with people like both of you who are making waves and doing cool things and helping the community grow and giving other people insight. So yeah, I'll be DJing. I'll be doing that, doing other community building activities, going to school.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's amazing.
Yes.
Josh, you got any?
Nah, this is a super dope episode. Great
I want to
energy.
come back.
Yeah, definitely.
You guys are awesome. It's
I think
so fun to
all
talk
of our
to.
guests, in a year or so, we're gonna have to do a relaunch with all of them too, just of everybody, just then and now. And that's part of this podcast too. Is the uniqueness of our show is that we want everybody to be moving forward together.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to wait till we're 40 and we have accomplished all these things to look
Mm-hmm.
back and say, okay, 20-year-old, this is how you do it.
Right.
Because we've been in that situation looking at different 40-year-olds or people with or 30 or whatever, and they're in a different stage of life.
Mm-hmm.
Their advice is only as relevant as it could be. You know, they're trying to recall, you know, what they did. And the fact is this world changes too fast. What you did in 1980 cannot be done today. 100%. We have the internet. You didn't.
Right.
Like, and so our whole goal and part of this show is then in a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, as it grows, is we can literally say, go back to, you know, the winter of 2018, go back to the spring of 2019 and see our guests and see this and use that as fuel to the fire.
Yeah, people definitely need this. This is great. You guys are awesome. Where
you.
y'all come from?
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
No problem.
Seriously.
Thank you for being here. And as always, guys, you can follow us on social media at MindFlux on everything. MindFluxed. Our audio is brought by Benji Got Beats at Benji Got Beats, BENJY, just so you guys know. He's dropping super heat always. Visuals brought by Cheddar Ches, Cheddar _Ches_. I'm one of your hosts at TParmTeach. And Josh?
You can find me at im.jmat.
And where can they find you? Bria Nachele.
At Bria Nachele.
Looks like Brianna Shell.
Brianna Shells. No. that's what all my friends, they make fun of me. They're like, Brianna Shells.
Can you spell it?
Yeah. BriaNachele. Awesome.
Thank you guys, as always, for listening to an amazing episode. And we hope you guys got a lot of golden nuggets. I did, personally. I love the best part about this is that we get to change, too.
Yes.
So leave us a review. Let Bria know how she did. Follow us all on social, and let's just keep moving forward. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next week.
Peace.
Peace.